It is Friday the 13th yet again, and I cannot think of this date without thinking of USA Up All Night and Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried, but mostly Rhonda Shear, because when I was a kid growing up, I looked forward to this date with such anticipation. I can remember many a Friday the 13th bouncing off the school bus, running inside the house, and preparing myself for a weekend long Friday the 13th-a-thon on USA Up All Night. And the point of this is, God, how I miss USA Up All Night. This is my Friday the 13th collection. It's not the entirety of my Friday the 13th collection, but I'll get into that in just a minute. So let me start off with these DVDs. These are the original DVDs that Paramount released, all of them bare bones. I should probably start, and I wish I still had. I had all these on VHS, the old VHS Paramount tapes. What happened to them? I have no idea. Some of them probably broke or were damaged and were thrown away. Others, God only knows. But now I know that I had, and this is part 4 through 8 of the original DVDs. And I know I had 1, 2, and 3 of these originals, but I cannot find them anywhere, and I have no freaking idea what happened to them. But anyway, here is the final chapter on DVD. And there's the back, of course, no special features. At least they kept the box cover art for like the first 4 of these. The old VHS cover art for these DVDs for at least the first 4. Then they moved away and started doing this original cover art. And I never really liked these. Here's part 5, The New Beginning, my personal favorite of the series. So sleazy. I love it. So beautifully sleazy. Here is part 6. Jason Lives. And of course that is Jason. Focus, from part 5, not part 6. Not zombie Jason. Here is part 7, The New Blood. And I remember a petition, signing a petition to get this movie in its uncut form for this release way back when. Of course, that did not happen. And I've got 2 copies of part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. And now on to the deluxe editions. This is Friday the 13th. The original, the uncut version, the classic film. What else can you say about this movie except it is a classic? It's not, you can't say it's a well-made movie, but you can definitely say that it's got a creepy atmosphere, and the special effects are really good. It was groundbreaking for its time. Yes, it did borrow quite heavily from several other films, but there's no doubt, there's no denying its impact, especially on 80s slasher films. So this movie is heralded, and deservedly so. Part 2, the continuation, of course, introduced us to Jason. Again, kind of like, they definitely watched Bay of Blood yet again when they made part 2. This one's more, even more of a direct sort of, and I don't want to use the terminology ripoff of Bay of Blood, but I'll do it anyway. This one's really cool. Of course, Tater Sack Jason running around, hacking everybody up. Jason's mom's head there. Twice the fear, 2 times the carnage, 2 times the terror. Yeah, this is a very good sequel, I think. And part 3 in 3D. A lot of people really like this movie. A lot of people say this is their favorite of the series. I enjoy it. Not their favorite of the series, but maybe their favorite sequel of the series. I like it. It's cool. The eye-popping scene. A lot, the cheesy 3D gags are fun. Great stuff. Of course, part 4, the final chapter. This is just a great slasher film. period. I mean, it is the best sequel, Friday the 13th sequel. It's very well made. Got great special effects, again, from Tom Savini, who did the first film. Really memorable cast. Crispin Glover, Teddy, those twin chicks. Of course, it introduced us to Tommy Jarvis, played by Corey Feldman. The whole family aspect of it with him and his mother and his sister. Really, really good stuff. This is just an awesome slasher movie, hands down. Whether it be a Friday the 13th movie or not. Great stuff. My personal favorite of the series, as I said, Part 5, A New Beginning. So beautifully sleazy, so tastefully tasteless. I love this film. Love it to death. Great characters, great memorable characters. The kills are kind of truncated, off screen, implied, but lots of TNA in this one. And I think it's really well written. I mean, some of the stuff in this, I mean, you've got to sort of take a movie like this that is intentionally tongue-in-cheek and intentionally kind of silly at times. And, I think a lot of intelligence went into it. I really, really love this movie. And I've got a funny story about this movie, which I will tell at the end of the video. Part 6, Jason Lives. The introduction of Zombie Jason. I really enjoy this movie a lot. Of all the Friday the 13th movies, this is probably the one I've seen either the most or the second most. Really enjoy this flick. Friday the 13th movie that I've seen the most, I think, would have to be Friday the 13th Part 7. This is also the very first Friday the 13th movie that I saw way back when I was a kid. I've got a soft spot for it. I just really enjoy it. It's Jason versus Carrie. This was this was originally supposed to be they were trying to make the inevitable crossover, Jason versus Freddy, around this time. Of course, that never happened, so they did Jason versus Carrie instead. And I think it's a lot of fun. I really like it. Jason Takes Manhattan. Again, I have a soft spot for this movie. This was always the capper for the USA Up All Night Friday the 13th-a-thon. This was always the last movie that they showed on Sunday evening. And always, always a little sadness in watching the closing credits to this, because I knew my weekend's over. It's back to school. And waiting for the next Friday the 13th-a-thon. So, yeah. Next, we have the first Friday the 13th movie that I actually saw in the theater, Jason Goes to Hell. And I have to say, even though this isn't a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, it was fun as hell to see in a theater with a bunch of friends. This is sort of a ill-conceived Jason movie, considering that Jason's only in it about 10 minutes maybe. It's, Jason reduced basically to a slug creature, there it is, that can jump in and out of people's bodies, possessing them with the evil spirit of Jason. This does have an awesome special effect in it, though. The chick who's having sex in the tent, and the rail or the spike or whatever it is that gets shoved all the way through her, and she is bisected. Awesome effect there. And the greatest Jason film of all time, Jason X, Jason in Space. Again, completely ill-conceived idea, taking Jason into space. I mean, what were they thinking, okay, Pinhead in space was bad, Leprechaun in space was bad, we can do it with Jason. We can take Jason into space in the future. I forget how many years in the future this takes place. It's just ridiculous. It's goofy. It looks and feels incredibly cheap. And the less said about it, the better. Then we have got the documentary. His Name Was Jason. This was made sort of, I think, Halloween 25 Years of Terror had come out before this, and I think it had been a fairly big hit amongst fans. A very cool documentary about all the Halloween movies. So I decided to do this one about all the Friday the 13th movies, and it didn't quite turn out so well. in my opinion. It's kind of goofy. It's kind of silly. The rapper scenes with Tom Savini are just. It is. I mean, it's nothing. The biggest down thing about it for me was that all the insight, all the interviews really revealed nothing that I didn't already know about this series. So, yeah, I don't know. Here I have the Friday the 13th box set from Crystal Lake to Manhattan, and I actually really like this box set. I think it's gotten a bad rap. It's got a disc of killer extras, which actually is kind of good. It's got a lot of cool stuff on it, and I don't know. I just enjoy having this set. Glad I have it. Last DVD I want to show is the remake Friday the 13th. This is the killer cut. Again, the less said about this, the better. And on to the Blu-rays. Friday the 13th, the first one, the uncut version, on Blu-ray. Friday 2 on Blu-ray. And Friday 3 on Blu-ray. And no horror collection, no Blu-ray collection is complete without Freddy vs. Jason on Blu-ray. And what's my thoughts on Freddy vs. Jason? Pretty par for the course. Nothing spectacular. Nothing to really... I mean, it is what it is. It's Freddy vs. Jason. There you go. Here I've also got the Crystal Lake Memories book, The Complete History of Friday the 13th, that Peter Bracke did. This is, if you are a Friday the 13th fan, you have got to buy this thing. This is an awesome, awesome read. It is loaded with information, with interviews from Frank Mancuso to, just about everybody who was involved in these films, I think with the exception of like Steve Miner. This is just an awesome, awesome book. Forget his name was Jason, the DVD, and just buy this book. This is just so chock full of awesome information and interviews and stuff that I'd never heard of, stories and behind the scenes stuff, and a lot of stuff that I'd never heard about before, and I consider myself a semi-expert on this series. So, all right. And my Friday the 13th story pertaining to Part 5. When I was a kid, I was sitting on the floor of my living room watching Friday the 13th Part 5 with my grandmother. And in comes the insurance woman, and she sits down on the couch, and she's watching me watch Friday the 13th Part 5 right at the point where what was her name? Debbie Sue Voorhees, I think. That chick right there. The beautifully buxom girl. In all of her birthday suited glory, meets her demise at the hands of quote-unquote Jason. And she just about freaked out. She said, "Does your mother know that you're watching these films? Does your mother know that this is going on?" And I basically just more or less ignored her. I think I realized at that point that these movies aren't everybody's cup of tea, but by God, they are my cup of tea, and I love them. And I've always loved this series. I've always loved Friday the 13th. And though, I mean, I don't know what's going to come of the series in the future, if there will be a series in the future. I mean, it's gone through so many films, through 3 decades, from a mongoloid kid at the bottom of a lake to Uber Jason in the freaking space, I forget how many hundreds of years in the future, to Freddy vs. Jason. into a god-awful remake. So, I mean, God knows where this series will go, if anywhere. But anyway, that is my Friday the 13th collection. Wanted to share that with you guys. And happy Friday the 13th. Don't forget to comment, like the video, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. All the cool kids do.